Today, we will proceed towards the Aram of this program. I request Spurti Ji Hegde to come on the dais and mesmerize this hall with a beautiful prayer.
Smrami Mahaganapatam Vashishtavanadevadi Pandita Mahaganapatam Sasmarami Vashishtavanadevadi Pandita Mahaganapatam Mahadeva Sutta Guru Guhanuta Mahadeva Sutta Guru Guhanuta Marukoti Prakasham Shatam Marukoti Prakasham Shatam Mahakavyanataka Priyam Mahakavyanatakapriyam Mushikavahanamodakapriyam Mahakavyanatakapriyam Mushikavahanamodakapriyam Mahaganapatim Manasa Smarami Vashishtavanadevadi Pandita Mahaganapatim
Such a beautiful clear work. Thank you, Spurti, for mesmerizing the hall. Now, I would like to call Professor Dr. Diminishing Sir, Professor Dr. Nitte Ma'am, Professor Dr. Rahul Bhandari Sir, Professor Dr. Shilata Ma'am, Professor Dr. Pushpara Shetty Sir, and Professor Dr. Maxillofacial Sir to inaugurate the program. Let the light of hope be enlightened.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank everyone here for allocating their time and their busy schedule to attend this event. So to move on with our event, I request Professor Dr. Srilata Ma'am, HOD, Department of Oral Pathology and Oral Microbiology, to deliver our welcome.
So, in the year 2020, there was a report that was published by UNESCO, which says that in India, the researchers are a meager 250 per million population. In comparison to the highest which is seen in Denmark, where the researchers are thought to be around 8,065 per million population. So I think it is something that we need to think further, because the research that is there happening in India is very, very meager. So the highest, so through the lens of oral pathology, we have come up with a theme: research, guidance, and innovation, which is thought to be the new mantra for success in this age. I, Dr. Srilata SV, on behalf of my team, would extend a warm welcome to one and all present here. Namaste to respected Dean and Principal, Professor U.S. Krishnanayak, our Vice Principal Madam, Professor Dr. Mitra Hegde, Chairman of Dental Education Unit, Professor Dr. Rahul Bhandari, and our own Sir Dr. Pushparaj Shetty, Professor Dr. Pushparaj Shetty, and my colleague Dr. Mangesh Shonai, who is the organizing secretary for this event. I welcome all the dignitaries on the dais. And the guests of the dais, present both online and offline, the HODs, faculty members, friends and students, both PGs and UGs, a hearty welcome to you all. Research creates new knowledge, and innovation is the only way to win. And it's a game changer in our future endeavors. Students, we have eminent speakers amongst us, Professor Dr. R.V. Subramaniam sir and Professor Dr. Monica Solomon, who will guide us and brief us about research. They are our speakers for today. I must confess that in short span of time, they have agreed to deliver the speech, and I wholeheartedly welcome them for this gathering. They are supposed to come online. ABSMIDS, a constituent college of Nitte University, is ranked 6th in the NIRF ranking, and our own department has achieved great laurels under the leadership of Dr. Pushparaj Shetty, who has in the department has been awarded as the best department award in the year 2019. I want to extend a genial welcome to our esteemed judges for the event, that is naming Professor Dr. Vidya N, Professor Dr. Ajit Koshi, Professor Dr. Siddharth Pandit, Professor Dr. Vishnudas Prabhu, and Professor Dr. Nandita Keti. I wish to express my gratitude to our department colleagues, both teaching and non-teaching postgraduate students, and above all, my own teacher, Professor Dr. Pushparaj Shetty, who have contributed in this program to get going. I thank the class representatives of the first years, the boys and girls who have enthusiastically participated, and more so the team effort which has gone into this making of this program. As we have all gathered in this hall, which is called Avishkar. Now, if you know, Avishkar means invention. I wish you all a productive day ahead, and also hoping that some Avishkar will come in the days to in your journey in this college to make our India Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you, one and all.
I now request Professor Dr. U.S. Krishna Iyer, sir, our Honorable Principal and Dean, to share a few words over this gracious event.
At the outset, a very good morning to all gathered here. My colleague, Professor Dr. Vidya N, the Vice Principal, the Head of Department and the Organizing Chairman of this, I should say, a convention or a symposium, which is the need of the hour, research, guidance, and innovation, the new age mantra for success, none other than the HOD, my colleague, Professor Dr. Shilata, Professor Dr. Rahul Bhandari, the chairman of the dental education unit of our institution, Professor Dr. Pushparaj Shetty, the former head of department, and the gentleman who is in charge of the examinations at our institution. Of course, we have our own very enthusiastic and dynamic organizing secretary, Dr. Mangesh, my other colleagues, heads of departments, the theme of the Department of Oral Pathology. I'm sorry if I don't address each one by name. It's just that I don't want to take too much of your time because this is a family. But all the same, above all, the speakers who have joined us from rather online, and above all, my dear students, the first years and the third years especially, for whom this program has been designed and tailor-made. I should first of all congratulate, let me finish one part, my students, especially the third years, who have I recently completed the secondary examinations and the results were fairly good. Why? You can clap. Because very positive for other class now. Why I say fairly is because, unfortunately, you don't make it, so it's unfortunate. 7 or 8 people had a carryover, though they are not staying back in second year, they have been promoted to third year. But it's a big, it is carrying a lot of literally luggage of any of the subjects that you have into your clinical years, which itself is founded with third year subjects, medicine, surgery, oral pathology, and all the 8 clinical subjects of dentistry. Anyway, you just have to work more. What has happened is, in the past, yeah, you did probably work enough, and most of the subjects I see are medical subjects that people have, my students have lost. However, the number of distinctions also are not many as last year. So now that you guys have come to the clinical years, I implore upon the third years, the ones who have even, I'm talking about the ones who have got distinction, got first class, not to let your guard down, do better and make sure you are perform much better in the coming 2 years, third year and final year. And of course, internship also, though there may not be an examination. Having said that, we recently introduced one, which is called the exit assessment. That's only for your good, not a written examination. I wish you all the very best. And coming to the first years, you know that you have a final internal assessment that is coming up and the university exams. So this is the first university exam most of you are taking. So please do not take it lightly. It is definitely going to be a little difficult to cope up with a university examination. It is unlike your, the whole approach is unlike your pre-degree or pre-university exams. So please don't take it lightly. You still have, it's not too late, and work hard. And I want to see 100% pass percentage with the maximum distinctions and first classes from this batch of first years. Now, coming to the program, sorry for the slight deviation, but that was required because I have not spoken to the third years and the first years ever since the results have come. But now, coming to the Department of Oral Pathology, with the new head, Professor Dr. Srinatha has been doing really well and matching up to what Professor Pushparaj and team had done earlier. The various innovative methods of learning, etc., all of you know, which have been going on in the department. These people have taken it one step further, and they are today having something which a workshop which is in association with the Dental Education Unit, Research, Guidance, and Innovation, the New Age Mantra for Success. It is very nicely and aptly titled, and I feel the culture of research and innovation should be inculcated at this stage. Now from 250 per million, we definitely have to increase the onus right from MHRD, Ministry of Health, everything is towards research with this. Any body come to SSI institution, the stress, the onus is on how much research is going on in the institution, how many papers have been published, etc. So once you are already in there into a teaching profession, and especially old hags like me, it's difficult to put a reverse gear or even turn the vehicle to one side and say, okay, let me start research because somebody is saying research. This is something that I firmly believe has to be inculcated right from this age. So congratulations, Srinatha. It is very, very aptly selected. I congratulate the entire team behind this. And I would like to be failing my duty if I do not thank the resource persons, Professor Dr. Subramaniam, a very dear friend of mine, and Professor Dr. Monica Solomon, who was at Manipal. So she's also well known to us. And Professor Dr. Subramanian, for those who are not familiar, he'll be introduced all right, but he's a former professor at the King Faisal University, Saudi Arabia. So apart from that, we have other competitions, I was told, and this is going to be a day of learning, and I would say innovative learning in more ways than one. So congratulations, I won't take much more of your time, and I wish all of you who are here a very fruitful day ahead. All the best and God bless.
Thank you very much, sir, for your encouraging words. Now, I request Dr. Mangesh sir to come up on guys and address us board of thanks.
Good morning, one and all. At the outset, I would like to propose the vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to thank Almighty God for giving us enough encouragement and support for going ahead with this program. I would like to thank our beloved Chancellor, Sir, Sri N.V. Hegde, for supporting us, for organizing such events, and the entire Nitte team to be university for helping us in conducting these programs. I would like to thank our beloved Principal and Dean, Professor Dr. U.S. Krishnaik, sir, for gracing the occasion. I would like to also thank our Vice Principal, Professor Dr. Mitra Hegde, madam, for being present here. I would like to thank the Dean of Student Welfare and Chairman of staff of the Dental Education Unit, Professor Dr. Rahul Bhandari, sir, for coming all the way and being here, and also for being one of the judge for a competition. I'd also like to thank the resource persons of today's program, Professor Dr. R.V. Subramanian, sir, and Professor Dr. Monica Solomon, madam, for guiding our students throughout this program. I'd also like to thank the judges for today's event, naming Professor Dr. Ajit Koshi, sir, Professor Dr. Vidya, madam, Professor Dr. Vishnudas Prabhu, sir, Professor Dr. Nandita KP, Professor Dr. Siddharth Pandit, for being the judges for the various events which will be held in an online mode. I would like to thank our head of the department, Professor Dr. Shilita, madam, for being a support, and all the team and the guru of innovations of our department who started this trend of innovation or learning day rather, Professor Dr. Pushparaj Shetty, sir, for continuing the trend in the department. So we're just following the path which sir has laid with the start of amyloblastoma day, maybe 6-7 years back when we had it in 2014 or something, 14 or 15. So I would like to thank the students also and the Master of Ceremony, Rishiraj and Rishabhraj, sorry, and Manya for organizing the ceremony, Master of Ceremony. And I would like to thank all the students, the first periods as well as third periods, and also the various teaching and non-teaching faculty who have helped us, and the one and all. If at all I missed few of the names, I'm extremely sorry. So thank you and all. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir, for the vote of thanks. Now, I request Professor Dr. Bushra Shishito to introduce Professor R.V. Subramanian.
Dear students, a very good morning to you all. Teaching is a very noble profession that shares the character, caliber, and future of an individual. If people remember me as a good teacher, that will be the biggest honor for me. It is said by none other than the great scientist and our former President APJ Abdul Kalam. I have a task of introducing such a great teacher to you. Before reading his brief CV, I'll use the word brief because if I start talking about it, then I might need more than 1 hour. It will be talking, it will be 1 hour. So then it will become 2 hours. So I'll just make it very brief. Before that, I just want to tell my personal opinion or experience with him. I met Dr. R. Venkat Subramanian in 1998 when I was doing post-graduation in SDM Dental College, Dharwad. He has come as an examiner for our senior batch. I had an opportunity to travel with him from Dharwad to Hubli bus stand. From there, he was traveling to Davangere in KSRTC bus. Sir, as is a great orator that you will appreciate as well as you agree with me later after this talk is over. What usually happens to those days when you are doing post-graduation? Every conference, sir used to have one talk. It is on public demand, and the hall is to be full. Like no, it is whole, and many of the faculties who are coming for conference, they should schedule their program like that. Okay, today is Subramanian is talking there, so we have to reach on time to the conference. So like that, traveling schedule is planned according to sir's talk when it is scheduled. It's just like that. And one more thing about sir is, I think you will appreciate it and you will experience it. His sense of humor. I think you'll experience. And of course, we had a great lot of fans, postgraduate students during those days because he was very helpful and his knowledge, all those things. Sir has completed his BDS from Raja Muttaya Dental College, Annamalai in the year 1986. He did his MBS from Nair Hospital Dental College, Mumbai in 1990. Sir has more than 30 years of full-time teaching experience with 8 years as principal and 3 years as director of PG studies in various institutes of Andhra Pradesh. For the 6th year, he was working as professor of King Faisal University, Faisal Dental College, College of Dentistry, sorry, Saudi Arabia, and he was an NRI. Now he has become a full-time Indian. He is passionate about teaching and well versed with modern teaching methodologies, quite adept at using Blackboard software and iSkill software. I tell you that those days, that was 99, 98, those days he was using all these web-based teaching methodologies, and that time we were not doing what is right. He seemed like postgraduate and undergraduate programs and various evaluation reforms. He was an invited speaker at various conferences and postgraduate conventions, and more than 60. And he is known for his computer skills, captivating lectures, and fascinating presentations. He is recognized as PhD guide by NTR University of Health Sciences, Andhra Pradesh. He has large number of publications, international and national level. He is a member of editorial board of Journal of Translational Medicine, that is international journal with more than 3.5 impact factor. He is a past editor of Journal of Indian Association of Oral and Microbiology Pathology. He is a resource person for training the trainers or the training the teachers program is usually conducted by NTR University of Health Sciences, Vijayawada, and he is adept at computers and internet and is highly skillful in this aspect. I think, sir, on behalf of Nitte team to be University and ABSMIDS Memorial Institute of Dental Sciences, I heartily welcome you this program, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pushparaj for such a fantastic introduction. Can I start sharing the screen of my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you can see a blank screen now, right?
Yes, sir. Right.
Very good morning to all of you. First and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Pushparaj Shetty for such a wonderful introduction. Very kind of you, Dr. Pushparaj. Thanks a lot. And I would also like to thank Dr. Srilata, the Professor and HOD of Oral Pathology Department at AB Shetty College of Dental Sciences. Very kind of her to invite me. Thank you so much, madam. Without much ado, let me start the program. Why study? Whether it is dentistry or medicine or pharmacy or whichever subject we take. First and foremost question is, why should we study? If such a question is asked, and if it's your son who is asking why he has to study, show him this photo. So the idea is that if you study and if you are able to really earn well, then you will get such a good looking chick next to you who is very much younger in age. So you can show him this photo. But if your daughter asks why she has to study, show her the same photo. Because if she doesn't study, she'll end up with an old man like this. So that's the reason why we have to study. Jokes apart, if you look at the reason why we study, most of you must be familiar with this particular presentation, poster. The more I study, the more I know. The more I know, the more I forget. The more I forget, the less I know. So what's the point in studying? So if you look at various reasons for studying, there are a good number of reasons. The first one could be the position or status of an individual. Position or status of an individual, like you want to have a good position in the society or status in the society. You want to have luxury, money, and you want to be recognized by others. Probably that's one of the reasons why we all want to study, to become a well-known doctor or an engineer. Most of the time is it's peer pressure. Peer pressure is, like if your own batchmates in the school or in the college, so they all have become doctors or they are becoming engineers. So you cannot afford to be somebody less. So because of that pressure, probably, you all want to study and make sure that you get into a good profession. But most of the time it is parental pressure. The parents want you to become a doctor. They want you to become an engineer. They want you to become a chartered accountant. See, this is probably the reason why we all are forced into learning one particular or joining one particular type of profession. I remember during the time when I was working as a principal in one of the colleges. So for a management quota seat, when one of the students, we generally interview the student. So the student was not interested in dentistry. Actually, she was quite interested in fashion designing. So I was talking to her and asked her, can you design something now? So within few minutes, she designed a nice dress. Within few minutes. So when her father came, I told him, I don't think this is the right profession for her. So why don't you ask her to join fashion designing? Because it seems to be very good at it. But the father was not interested. He got angry with me, in fact. He said, no, I want my daughter to be a doctor, not a fashion designer. So parental pressure is one of the reasons why probably we join a particular type of profession. Or is it passion? I don't know whether you all are familiar with this photograph. You know who he is? He is Chetan Bhagat. See, Chetan Bhagat had a very good job abroad. He had finished from IIT, was an engineer. He had a software job. So, but his passion was writing. So he left that job, I think around the age of 40 or so. He left that job and took up writing. Of course, because his wife was also an engineer and she was able to earn money for him, to keep him happy. So that was not a problem. But since he was very passionate about writing, he left the job to take care of his passion. Okay. So sometimes passion might be responsible for a person to decide whether the person wants to study a particular subject or not. But most often, the reason why we all study is papi pet ka sawal. For our daily dal and roti, we all need to study so that we can earn a certain amount of money, so that we get our daily bread. No, of course, in India, it is not bread. It is like our daily dal and roti. That is probably the reason why we have to study. So this particular presentation is about how to study well and how to perform better in examinations. So the objectives of my presentations are twofold. One, how to study well, which I'll be talking about when should I study, where should I study, and how should I study, which includes time management, attending lectures, making notes, and reading methods, and how well to perform in the examination. So I'll be talking there about before the examinations, a day before the examination, and on the day of examinations, what is expected out of you. Okay. So first we shall start with how to study well. When should I study? Before we start that, let me state that there is no right way to learn. Okay? There is no right way to learn in the sense that the best way to learn is to open your books or online material or e-books or whatever material you want to read. So there is no particular way, this is how you should read or this is the way you should read. So there's no, strictly speaking, a right way to learn, but there are many wrong ways to learn. Okay. So which I think we should take care of. Okay. Like reading till late in the night, reading with mobile next to you, eating and reading, not concentrating on what you're reading. So there are umpteen number of ways by which we are not supposed to learn. Okay. So in my opinion, there is no right way to learn, but there are many wrong ways to learn. If you look at the study habits, then over a period of time, because of the change in the attitude and aptitude of the generations, you can see the current generation, is a generation which has got a lot of technology. So in my opinion, technology is a double-edged sword. It has got both good as well as bad. It's because of technology that I'm here in Vijayawada and you're able to see me deliver a lecture. So that's because of technology. You're able to hear me, you're able to see me. That is because of technology. During COVID, we had online lectures. This was because of technology. The same technology, which is a boon, can also be a bane. It can be a problem. So if all of you are students, if you misuse or abuse this technology, it is not going to benefit you. Sometimes I keep thinking that if I had been a student in this particular generation, how lucky I would have been. Because when I compare myself with what we used to go through during our student days, and comparing it now, you all have a very big advantage because of this technology. If you want to search for information, if you want to get information, if you want to understand something, it's so easy nowadays because of the technology. During our time, when somebody used to explain about craniofacial embryology, how that embryo undergoes cleavage and gets implanted, we used to find it very difficult to imagine and understand how exactly all these things are happening. But now you have very good videos. If you go online, if you search in YouTube, you get a lot of information and you'll be able to understand it better. Okay, so use technology, don't abuse it. So, and all of you should cultivate the right attitude. The most important thing, all of you should remember that once you have joined a professional course, the objective of studying is to gain knowledge and not just passing examinations. Okay? This is very important thing because ultimate goal is that all of you should become very good dental surgeons. Okay, so don't try to look at how best I can pass an examination. Okay? So that is very important because at the end, you need to be a good dental surgeon, not a very good person in passing examinations. So please remember that point is that the objective of study is to gain knowledge, not just passing examinations. And that requires taking a lot of interest in what you're doing. Be passionate about learning, enjoy learning, and then definitely you will be able to really do well. Okay? So do not endure any subject, enjoy it. You are not in some kind of a quarantine that, it's a punishment that I have to study this. No. Sometimes, of course, some of you might have been interested in medicine, and you must have joined dentistry because you didn't get admission to medicine. No problem. No, whatever you get, make sure that you really do well in what you have, rather than getting upset about what you did not get. Okay, so do not think this as a punishment. Enjoy learning. I never wanted to join dentistry. I wanted to be an engineer, but I happened to get into dentistry. But I'm sure I know I'm doing quite well in dentistry. Okay. So, but at the same time, don't just like always studying. Have a balance. Keep a balance. Have time for enjoyment, time for exercise, time for studying, time for entertainment. So you need to have balance in your life. In economics, you have something called as law of diminishing returns. That means if initially if you put in effort, you get certain amount of a product. But if you put in more effort, you might get more products or productivity. As you keep on doing more, is the sound audible? Is it? Any problems? The audio is good. All of you are able to hear me? Yes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please continue.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to check. Okay. So there's something called as law of diminishing returns. That means, like initially when you work hard, there's good amount of productivity. But after some time, if you keep on working too much hard, the productivity reduces. It's like studying. You study for half an hour, you'll be able to remember what you have learned. But you read continuously for 4 hours, 5 hours, you might not be able to remember what you have learned. Okay, so that also you need to remember is that you should know your limits. Okay, and then accordingly you should plan yourself. So when to study? Of course, it depends on your own individual preferences. Like some people get up early in the morning and they feel that is the best time to study during the day, or early in the morning and in the evening. But some people, they prefer to enjoy themselves in the evening and study late in the night. Okay, but you have to find out which is the best time to study. That means the time when you study. Okay, if that particular period of study is helping you more to remember what you are learning, then that is the best time to study. Okay, you're able to get my point. Let us say, for example, whatever you're studying, you're able to remember better when you're studying in the morning, early in the morning. So then okay, this is the best time for me to study. Some people prefer to study in the night and they're able to remember it better. But what you need to remember is that everyone should have at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Okay, so if you're going to study till 2 o'clock in the morning and come to the college at 8 o'clock, it's not going to be correct. Okay, so make sure that you have at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Okay, and you need to decide which is the best time for you to study. Where to study? Of course, the location again depends upon your individual preferences. It could be, in a place where there's less amount of distraction. It could be, your own balcony, garden, or a library, or an empty classroom. Of course, make sure that empty classroom is quite safe to study. Okay, so where you don't have too many distractions. 2, make sure that the place where you study is not too comfortable. Like some students, they prefer to lie down on the bed and study. Okay? So as they're studying, they might fall asleep because you have a nice bed, AC in the room, and a pillow behind. If you're studying, if you are too comfortable, then probably you'll end up resting rather than studying. And as some students prefer to walk up and down and study. Okay. Some students prefer to read aloud and study. Of course. So that you have to decide. Okay. Now, how to study? This is probably the most important part of the presentation, where there are 4 important things which we should know about: time management, attending lectures, taking and preparing notes, and reading. So we shall deal with one by one. Okay. Time management. The first and most important thing about time management is being organized. Okay. You need to organize yourself. And for that, you need to prepare a timetable of your own. This is not a timetable which is being provided by the college, but this is a timetable which is provided, which you're going to prepare on your own. If you look at this timetable here, which is there on the screen, for a week, right, starting from the time when you get up, this is just a example here. You have to prepare your own timetable. Okay. Let us say you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and your college starts at 8 o'clock. Then 6 to 8 a.m. would be the time when you get ready. Okay. From 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. would be college. Then you have lunch, then again college in the evening, and then you have time for snacks. Then again in the evening, you have time from 6 to 8 p.m. dinner, let us say from 8 to 8:30, and again from 8:30 to 10 p.m., assuming that you sleep at 10 o'clock and get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So that would be 8 hours of sleep for you. Okay. That's the reason I've just shown this tentative timetable, but you need to prepare your own. The reason why you need to prepare your own is that you need to find out how you spend your time every day. Okay. So let us say, for example, you're sleeping only for 4 hours. You're looking at a mobile phone, chatting, emails, on the internet for 3 to 4 hours. Then probably the number of hours which you have for studying would become less. Okay. So what all of you need to do first is to prepare your own weekly timetable and find out how you're spending your time. So when you do that, you might come out with this weekly hours. 1 minute. So this is again based on the previous timetable, which I just shown you an example. So you find that you have nearly 24 hours in the week for enjoying. You sleep for 56 hours a week. Okay, getting ready, exercising, eating. And if you see, the number of college hours and studying hours are nearly the same. Okay, college hours we have 36 hours. Studying, it comes to around 35.5 hours or so. So 36 hours. So you have. So now you decide, when you make your own timetable, how much time do you get to study? So if you find that your number of study hours are less, your enjoyment and entertaining are more, okay, then you need to accordingly adjust and make sure that at least you have 34 to 36 hours a week for you to study. Of course, that depends again on your personal preferences, in the sense that if you feel that you need more time to understand the subject, then probably you need more number of study hours. So that is after your own self-evaluation of yourself, in the sense that how well you can understand the subject, and how many hours you have accordingly. Now, time management, how to go about this time management. Okay. So first we saw about organizing ourselves. And what we need to realize that everybody has got only 24 hours a day. It's not that I have 36 hours and you have 12 hours. No, everybody has got 24 hours. And how well are we going to utilize this 24 hours? So all you need to do is to plan ahead. So once you have your timetable, once you know that this are the way by which I'm spending my weekly hours, okay, you need accordingly to plan ahead. Realize the difference between need and want. This is again self-realization. You need to know what you want and what you need. What is the difference? Things which you want to do is things which you like to do. Like, for example, I want to go for a movie, but you have examination tomorrow, so you have to study tonight. So that is what you need to do. Okay. So you need to realize the difference between need and want. And again, classify activities as urgent, not urgent, important or not important. Okay? So there's a nice there's a box for this. Okay, which will help you to decide how to go about classifying your activities. What is called as Eisenhower's decision matrix. Okay, so here if you look at this, okay, this Eisenhower, I think you might be knowing about Eisenhower. He was a general of the United States Army and later on became one of the presidents of USA. Okay, so he had classified, when he was a general, he made this kind of a decision matrix or a box which will help him to decide what is important, what is not important, what is urgent, what is not urgent. Okay, now for example, if you look at this box, this is urgent and important, which is something which you have to do it then and there. Okay, so do it now if it's urgent and if it is important. Some things are important for you, but not exactly urgent. Okay, so that you need to decide, schedule a time for it. Some things which are not important and urgent, you need to find somebody else to do, delegate it. And some things which are not important and not urgent, eliminate them. I'll give you an example. Okay, for example, you have patient work. Patient is coming tomorrow. You need to complete the denture or something, or you have to submit your record tomorrow. So these are both important and urgent. So you have to do it first. Okay? Yoga, exercise, your creative hobbies. These are not exactly urgent, but they are not always important for you. Okay, so decide a time when you can do them. Some things which are urgent but not exactly important. Like for example, you need to pay your electricity bill, okay, or you need to make some phone calls for a meeting, or you're part of a team project where you need to sit and do. You can sometimes delegate it. You can ask somebody else to do it for you if you can delegate that duty. Okay, so those are urgent but not important. And finally, you have something which are not urgent, not important. You need to eliminate them at least at the time when you're studying. Okay, I know that you cannot be without your mobile phones, not socializing, not messaging. You cannot completely eliminate it from your life. But at least when you're studying, make sure that your phone is in a silent mode. Don't put it off because sometimes you might get some important messages which you can check later on. Okay, so keep it in a silent mode. During the time when you're studying, no gossiping, no chatting, no WhatsApp, no Facebook, no Instagram, or no Snapchat, whatever. Okay, so these are a strict no at that time when you are studying. Okay, so this Eisenhower decision matrix will be very useful for you to decide. Sometimes you have to do this on a daily basis, or sometimes on a weekly basis, like how you would like to go about. Okay, how to study? The next thing is about learning to say no. Okay, so make sure that you avoid all kind of distractions. Just now I told you to get off that phone. Like while driving, they say don't drink and drive. In a similar fashion, don't use your mobile and study at the same time. Okay, so because this distraction can really cause problem. Okay, and don't say yes when you want to say no. Like for example, you have something important to do, and your friends say no, we'll go and have a party. We'll go for a movie. Okay, just because they happen to be your friends, it's not necessary that you have to say yes. Okay, very politely you can say no. Okay, so get into that. Howsoever the person is close to you, make sure that you should be in a position to tell no when you want to say no. Okay, and third point about time management is, just because I told you we need to study doesn't mean that you need to overload yourself. Okay, so don't overload it. Okay, as I told you, you need to have a balance. You need to have time for resting, time for relaxing and enjoying yourself, time for sleeping, time for eating, time for exercise. Okay, so that is the reason why you need to have the timetable of yours where you decide. Sometimes it looks very, having a timetable, and strictly trying to follow it. But once you start having a timetable like that, I'm sure definitely you will be able to perform very well. Okay, in the examination we are going to talk about later on, and you will have your life very much well organized. Okay, so make sure that you take short breaks while studying. Generally, it has been shown that if you read for 20 to 30 minutes, maximum 20 minutes, they say, your concentration starts reducing after 20 minutes. Okay, so don't try to read continuously for 2 hours, 3 hours. I have phone students telling me, So the whole night I read yesterday, sir, but I forgot everything today morning. So you will definitely forget if you continuously read without giving yourself a break. Okay. So what you need to do is, if you read for 20 minutes, give yourself a short break for 10 minutes. No, let the break be short. Okay. So just because I asked you to take a break doesn't mean you take half an hour break, read for 15 minutes. Okay. No. You read for 20 minutes, take a small break, and then again you can continue with your reading. And usually it's like preferable that if you read different subjects, okay, instead of continuously reading one particular subject, you can read different subjects. I'll come to that later on about reading. And most important thing about time management is procrastination. That means delay. Okay, don't delay what you need to do today. The reason is, as you delay it, it starts accumulating. Of course, the first years are not familiar with the word cumulative toxicity, but others who are familiar with pharmacology, there's a term in pharmacology called as cumulative toxicity. What is that? Cumulative toxicity is like if a person has got a chronic problem, disease. So they are asked to take tablets for a long period of time. Okay. So what happens is when a person is taking continuously tablets, these drugs which they are taking, the medicines, they are metabolized in our body, and a small part of it starts getting deposited in our body. So they start these toxic products start accumulating. The only thing is, initially, if you take a tablet, these are eliminated. Only very minor amount or negligible amount is present. Okay? But if you start taking the medicine continuously, regularly for accumulating, and then they reach a level where it is toxic for the individual. So then the person might sometimes even die because of it. Okay, so that is called as cumulative toxicity. In a similar fashion, if you don't do regular reading, if you keep accumulating all your topics, they will reach a toxic level and create a problem. A very simple example I'll give you. If you don't eat Oh, no, you can hear me? Yeah. So I'm visible and audible now? Am I visible and audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So that is about procrastination. I think all of you have heard about the famous word, procrastination is the thief of time. Okay. Now we have learned about time management. Okay. Now let's just see how to study regarding, about attending lectures. Okay. Why should you attend lectures? Now, what is the need to attend a lecture? Because most of the time, from students' point of view, they think that whatever teacher is teaching, it is there in the book. Teacher is teaching from the book only. So why do they need to go and attend the lecture? I can as well as to go and read that book from where the teacher is teaching. No, there are many reasons why you need to attend a lecture. Number one, sometimes textbooks may not give you explanation on the information which is there in the book. The teacher is going to help you in giving that explanation. And teacher will also probably give their own views regarding the subject. 1 second. Yes, madam.
Sir, screen is not.
1 second. Oh, okay. 1 second. 1 minute, I'll get back to you. Oh, you're able to see the screen now? Yes? You're able to see the screen? Ladies?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So now we shall talk about how to study by attending lectures. As I told you, sometimes the students might feel there's no need to attend the lectures because everything is there in the books. But you need to attend lectures because the teachers are going to give you explanations on this information, okay? On the information which is there in the books. And sometimes the teachers, because of their vast experience, they might provide views which probably might not be found anywhere else. Okay, so it also provides views of the teachers and also from where the teacher has taken this information. Okay, you might be having one standard textbook. The teachers might be taking information from various books, and they also might give you some links to other references where you can go and get additional information. Okay, so they might tell you, okay, you can go to this particular book or this particular website where you can get more information. Okay, so that again is told in a lecture. And of course, a lot of indications are there about what is important to learn, what is not important to learn in a lecture. The teacher might might give you a lot of information about, from examination point of view, what is also important. So that again would be very useful when you are learning for the sake of examination. Okay. My audio is clear? Is it fine? Because in between, I think there was got disconnected. Now is it okay?
All fine, sir.
Oh, fine. Okay, thank you. For intellectual stimulation, sometimes when you attend a lecture, because of the teacher, sometimes you might get stimulated to learn that subject more. So I found some of my students, they come back and told me that because they learned oral pathology from me, they took oral pathology as their postgraduate subject. Okay, so of course that makes us feel nice. So sometimes teachers might stimulate you intellectually so that you can start taking interest in that particular subject. But the most important reason why all of you should attend a lecture is because I think attendance is compulsory. At least you should have some 75% attendance. Okay, so that could be one of the reasons why all of you must attend these lectures. Okay. So when you're attending lectures, what should I do? What should you do? Number one, be on time, or I would even prefer that if you're before time, don't try to be exactly, the class is starting at 9 o'clock, to be there at 9 o'clock. No, it is not a crime if you're there 5 minutes before 9 o'clock. Okay, so try to be there before time so that you're also organized and ready for the lecture. Listen carefully. Okay, not hearing. Hearing is just listening to the sounds which are emanating from your teacher's mouth. Listen carefully means try to understand what the teacher is telling you. Okay, so, and I think some of the teachers might prefer you to raise the hand during the lecture in case you don't understand something. But sometimes some teachers prefer you to ask doubts at the end of the class. So if you have any questions, probably you can make a note of it and ask at the end of the lecture in case the teacher does not prefer you to ask questions during the class. Okay. So listen carefully. Note down the information. I shall be talking about how to take down these notes later on. So make sure that you note down this information, and also look out for verbal signposts. That means while the teacher is talking, you'll be saying, this is important for examination point of view. Okay, and somebody might summarize the whole point or the lecture or the important aspects finally, and then you might say, or she might say, some points. So make sure that you note down those points. Okay? And sometimes, of course, because the teacher is talking, and some of them talk very rapidly, some of them may talk slowly. Okay, you need to write down what the teacher is saying. So make sure that you have your own shorthand. Okay? Shorthand, something which you can understand. So don't use shorthand which you cannot decipher it later on. Develop your own shorthand in such a way that you can rapidly take down the notes when the teacher is taking your lecture. Okay. There are two types of these notes. One is records, the other is study notes. Records means here I'm not talking about journals or records which we submit as a part of the practical class. Okay. So record is something which you take down during a class, or you write down from a textbook, or if you have downloaded information online. Okay. So that is a record. That means you just, like whatever the teacher is saying, you note it down. Or if you have referred an article, you write it down, that is a record. Or you've gone online, you got some content, and if you write it down in your notebook, that is a record. But a study notes is from these records, you make your own notes, okay, which will make you understand information which you have got from your teacher, from your textbook, from articles, online. And when you start making your own summary from what you have obtained, so that is called as a study note. Okay, so students will probably have two things: records and study notes. Okay, so how to go about these notes is something which is quite popular abroad, is the Cornell method of taking these notes or making these notes. What is this Cornell method? If you look at this picture, you can see if we take an A4 size paper, okay? If you take an A4 size paper, and if always use standard paper when you're making notes, no? Don't use letter size one time and A4 size another time, and then small notebook for another time and so forth, okay? Use a standard paper for making these notes, and you leave around 2 inches of margin, okay? On the left-hand side, okay? And you have 1 inch of margin on the top, okay, where you write the title and the date, okay? And down in the last page of your notes, okay, probably you can leave 2 inches, okay? That is for the summary. Now, this is what is called as the recall column, okay? Recall column is where, after the class, you're going to write down the main ideas, keywords, questions, okay? So this is for writing it later on. And this is the area where you can take down your class lectures. During the lecture, okay, use concise sentences or in points, use short forms or abbreviations or symbols. And this is the area where you write down what is being taught in the class. Okay. And after the class is over, you can write down the main ideas which you have obtained from what you have written down in these class notes. Okay. Are you able to see this arrow here when I'm showing it? Anyway, so these main ideas are written on the left-hand side. And what I would also prefer is that you use only one side of the page. Don't use both sides of the page. The reason is, on the other side, you can always use it for, let us say, for example, during the lecture, you have noted down some points. But later on from the textbook, if you have got additional information, or you went online, you came across some diagram, okay? So you want to note it down. So instead of noting it on the same page or different pages, if you leave a blank page on the other side, you'll be able to note it down there. So write notes only one side, okay, of the page. This is a very good method of taking down notes and preparing both your records and study notes, the Cornell method. Nowadays, because of the advance of technology, there's something called as digital notepads. Okay, you can see something here. Can you see this? So this is what is called as a digital notepad. You just have to pin it. Okay, pin it to your paper or notebook. Okay, and it comes with a digital pen. Okay, you just have to write as how you are writing with your pen. No, automatically everything is recognized by this digital notepad. Okay, so you'll be able to store it as a image file, as a JPEG file, or sometimes even as a PDF file. Okay, so this is just pinned to the paper, and Once you remove it, okay, you can just turn the page and then pin it to the next page. Okay. So this is the advantage of technology. Okay. So the biggest advantage is you can store this information. No? Let us say you can store it on some pen drive or on your desktop computer. So even if you lose those pages, no, still your notes are still available. Okay. So that's the biggest advantage. Of course, make sure that you don't lose a pen drive. Okay. Of course, nowadays, we have something called as cloud drives. You can serve everything on a cloud server so that you can download it whenever you want it, like Google Drive or Dropbox or so forth, where you can store all this information. I also, okay, how do we remove this? 1 second. 1 minute. Yeah. Fine. I personally use what is called as a graphic tablet. Okay. Personally use a graphic tablet here. Okay. Which is connected to my computer. For this is very good for drawing diagrams, even for writing, creating your own flow charts and so forth. So, I mean, like this is not very expensive. If you browse in Amazon, you'll be able to come across these graphic tablets, which are not too expensive, because once you buy one with this pen here, you'll be able to make your own diagrams which you can store on your computer. Okay. Like for example here, like this, can you see? I have drawn this maxillary canal. So when you want to learn about dental anatomy, it becomes very easy for you, for you to just draw a diagram and then make a note of all the features. So instead of trying to read everything from your textbook, trying to read one line by line and trying to understand which contact area is more cervically located, which contact area is more incisively located. So this would easily help you to understand what you are learning. Okay, so this is another big advantage of technology. You can always use this graphic pad and tablet to make your own diagrams. You can also make diagrams with colors like this. Of course, this is not what I have created. Okay, so this will again help you to understand the subject better. There's something called as concept mapping. When you're learning, okay, from what you have learned, this is what you can do in your study notes. Once you have the class lecture is over, you can try to make your own concept maps like this, which will help you to understand the subject easy, and you will also be able to probably represent this in the examination also. Okay, because they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay, what you might require nearly some 5 minutes to write will just probably require less than 30 seconds or 1 minute if you use such kind of flow charts. And not only that, these mind maps or concept maps are very easy to make you understand. Very, very useful before your examination. Okay, because when you have examination and you need to revise, looking at your textbook with so many pages, trying to revise them might be very difficult. Okay, but if you have this concept maps with you or mind maps, it becomes very, very easy for you to revise your subject. So these are extremely useful. Or you can also create your own flow charts, because let us say, for example, this is about vitamins. Okay, we all know individually as vitamins and where do they affect, but you can also create your own. Here, like eye is affected by which vitamin, teeth, which are the vitamins which affect the teeth, like that, and you can create your own flow charts and schematic diagrams. Okay. One big advantage I told you, the current generation is online learning. Online learning, not just online lectures which are having in the class, but there are so many things which are available online. Education websites, podcasts, blogs, vlogs, webinars, discussion forums. So much amount of information is available online. And it is so easy to gain information. Okay. Only thing is, as I keep telling you all, please utilize this technology. You are a very, very lucky generation. We didn't have all these things during our time. It used to be so difficult for us to get information for us. During our PG days, if we had to find out various articles which are there on a particular topic, we had to open a big book called as Dental Indexicus, where you have to open and start looking out where are the articles which are useful for you. But nowadays, you just have to go online, search in PubMed or any other website like Scopus, and you get whatever information which you want. Okay, so utilize this technology. Okay, it's going to be extremely useful for you. Okay, I'll give you certain examples here. Like for example, if you're searching for information related to craniofacial embryology, okay, just go to Google. Just all you need to type craniofacial embryology. Can you see here what I've done here? Dash PDF. That means if you want PDF documents, just have to put a dash and write PDF, and you get so many information here. Okay, you can see that. No? So all you have to just is open this document and read it. So much of information is there. Not only that, if you want to see a video of craniofacial growth or craniofacial embryology, they're available on YouTube. Okay, see like this, the entire chapter is there on embryology. You can easily get information. Like for all topics, you get information. In fact, of course, some of the information is, especially in journals, may not be freely available. But if you go to Google Scholar, even textbooks which are not probably there in the library, or if you wanted a textbook from the library, but it's been already be taken by somebody else, you just have to go to Google Scholar, type it, and you'll be able to have a look at it at least. The textbook on Google Scholar. Only thing, of course, you cannot save it as a file. But another way of saving information on Google Scholar is using the screen print option. Okay. Yeah. You can also get PowerPoints. Like if you just type craniofacial embryology PPTX, you get all PowerPoints which are. In fact, this is very useful for PG students. The PG students, they go online, get the PowerPoint, and then they, not all of them, some of them, they just get the PowerPoint presentation, and then they use it in the seminar. Once I remember a student downloaded information like that and was presenting the seminar with somebody else's PowerPoint, but he was not even smart enough to change the name. The name of the person who had originally created it was still there. Okay, so even if you're downloading information online, use it. Don't just copy and paste it. Okay, use it to improvise your presentation, but not trying to just copy somebody else's presentation. Not only that, very important is that you should know your source. Okay, please know your source of information. From where did you get the information? Always make a note of it. The reason is, if you don't make a note of it, later on when you are writing, you find that there is some kind of seems to be something different from what you have learned. So you need to cross-check and find out where you got that particular information from. You need to know the source. Okay? So always you need to know the source. And in case of postgraduate students, if you are going to use that information for your seminars, you need to always acknowledge it. Okay? Always acknowledge what information which you have got online. So we have now got information. So how do we go about reading? Okay. So the next step in how to study is the reading. First thing, I told you, make yourself comfortable while reading. Not too comfortable, which would probably result in resting rather than reading. Okay. Make sure you're comfortable. And as I told you earlier, limit the length of each session. That depends upon your individual, not more than 40 minutes. Because most of the time, the concentration of students or any other individual for that matter, okay, for listening to a talk also, will not for more than 35 to 40 minutes. Okay. So when you are reading, make sure that you have a limited session, take a small break and then continue to read. Okay. And as I told you, try to always read a difficult subject first. Okay, because the difficult subject in the end, you might not be too much interested in reading something which you find boring or difficult. Try to finish that first, and then you can read the subject which you like later on. Okay, define your task. Okay, so this is what I need to complete today, and then you need to complete. As simple as that. Okay, so that is what all of you need to decide. So generally speaking, double the amount of time for each hour of class which you have spent in the lecture. For example, your lecture was only for half an hour. Then probably you need 1 hour for the study hour. Okay, if you want to study what has been taught for 1 hour in the lecture, you need 2 hours. If it is 40 minutes, you need 80 minutes, like that. Okay, so this is how you need to plan so that you understand the subject better. As I told you earlier, study the most difficult or boring subjects first. Avoid scheduling marathon study sessions. Don't study for long hours. Usually these marathon study sessions are just before the examination. Don't do it. Okay. Be aware of the best time of your day. As I told you earlier, if you feel that you are able to grasp the subject better early in the morning, study early in the morning. If it is in the night, you can study in the night, but make sure that you also have adequate amount of rest. Okay? Use waiting time. What do you mean by this waiting time is, let us say, for example, sometimes because of certain, you have to go to a doctor, and if you're okay otherwise, and you have to go to the doctor for certain reason, and if you're waiting at the doctor's outpatient department, okay, and you have some time there, you have to wait for at least 45 minutes to 1 hour, let us say. So during that time, you can probably take your notes and then revise during that time. Okay, understood. So you can also utilize this waiting time, wherever you are, and preferably use a regular study area. That means if you're got a study room, study there, but don't keep on changing it because it might be quite distracting to you. And how to read efficiently and rapidly. How to read fast. One of the good habits which I have is reading books. I mean, I read a lot of books in the sense, not textbooks I'm talking about fiction and all. Okay. So when you have the habit of reading books, it's very, very useful because a person who's got habit of reading books, of course, nowadays you have Kindle and so forth for reading, but even if you are reading Kindle, even fiction, okay, it's very good habit because when you read books, you have you get the ability of reading for long periods of time without losing your concentration. Normally, if you are going to lose your concentration in 15-20 minutes, if you are having the habit of reading, probably for 45 minutes to 1 hour, you will be able to read without losing your concentration. That is point number one. Point number two, if you have the habit of reading books, you will have the ability to skip judiciously. Skip judiciously means, okay, when you're reading some of these fiction novels, some of the content which is there is not useful. Okay, so you just skip and then go to one areas where it is useful. So this will also help you while reading your textbook. Okay, so the first thing which you should know is, why should I read? What should I read? And how much should I read? So know the purpose before you read. Avoid looking at the words separately while reading. If you want to read fast, don't try to read the whole content at the same time. Look at them at groups of 2 or 3. For instance, a sentence can be grouped in this manner, like that. Okay, so try to read in small groups rather than trying to read as one big whole sentence. Some people probably can also use a pointer like a pencil or a scale, to guide you across the page so that you don't keep reading the same or go back, what is called a skip back, okay? So that you can read without any interruption. Some people, especially some of these textbooks, the spacing between the sentences might be very less. Okay, so in which case you can keep a scale so that you can just keep going down as you're reading. Okay, don't skip over illustrations and pages. Very, very useful for understanding. Okay, don't skip over them, because sometimes nowadays most of the textbooks have very good schematic diagrams or tables. Okay, so make sure that you go through them and see what exactly they are explaining. Okay, and if you want to improve your concentration as you are reading itself, create your own questions, okay, related to that content. This is where your that recall column I told you and the Cordell method become very useful, where you can keep writing the questions. Some of them you may know the answer, some of them which you may not know the answer. Okay? Always keep asking the question, why is like this. Once you understand the reason why, is very, very difficult for you to forget it. Okay, so I mean, like for example, initially before I joined oral pathology in 1985, I was teaching for some time. 1986, I was teaching dental materials for some time before I joined oral pathology. Okay, after that I have not taught dental materials, but some of those things which I learned at that time I still remember, because one of the reasons probably because I taught the subject. Okay, but something which I understood. Like even now, if you ask me the composition of algae, I can say it has got 2% sodium phosphate or sodium triphosphate because it's a retarder. Okay, so the function of sodium triphosphate is the retarder like that. So something which I've learned so long ago, 1986. Just imagine if I'm still able to remember now, it's because of the fact that when we were studying and when I was teaching, I was made sure that I understood what I'm teaching. Okay, so once you understand something, it's very difficult to forget. You might forget some of the dosages and all exact numbers, but some they just get impregnated in your mind. So that is how you can remember. Okay, so always ask the question why, and I'm sure you'll never forget. So we have finished one half of the presentation, or most of it, in fact. Okay, we have just probably another 30% left. So the objectives of this presentation were twofold: how to study well, and second part, I think, which probably both of you are interested in, is how to perform well in the examinations. So we have finished how to study well. So now we shall see how to study well for examinations. Okay. So I think still we are on time. In the next 15 minutes, I should be able to cover up this part. Okay. Now, how to perform well in the examination? One, these exams could be frustrating, irritating, tiring, disappointing, surprising, and very occasionally for the student it is satisfying, but most of the time it is problematic. So that's why this particular topic on how to perform well and do well in examinations. There are basically 3 steps in writing an exam. 1, look up for inspiration. 2, look down for concentration. And 3, look around for information. Okay. Okay, I was just kidding. Okay, please don't do this. Okay, it's just a joke so that all of you get back into the mood. So now we shall see how well to perform in the examination. Okay. The day before the examination, 1, make sure that you set a limit for studying. Don't study the whole night and then come to the examination hall. Okay. You need to have adequate amount of rest. Eat well. Drink water, but not too much. Otherwise, you will be spending more time in the toilet than in the examination hall. Okay. So drink, because you need to be hydrated. That's the reason I said drink water or juices or anything like that. Okay. Even on the day of examination, make sure that you have your breakfast and go. I remember an incident where a student read the whole night. Next day morning, he didn't even have the breakfast. He came to the examination hall. After he got into the examination hall, after he got the paper, he just collapsed. Okay. So he could not write the examination. He had to be taken to the hospital. And unfortunately for him, the examination was so easy on that day. Something which you could have probably even written it without studying anything the previous day. Okay. So please don't do that. Eat well. You need energy while you're writing the examination. Okay. So make sure that you eat well, drink juice or water, so that you're very much hydrated. And previous day, make sure that everything are ready. Don't keep it for the next day morning. On the day of the previous night itself, make sure that ID card, hall ticket, stationery, everything is kept ready. Okay, so that you don't miss out anything in a hurry when you are doing it in the next day. Okay, and if when you're sleeping, make sure that you set an alarm before you sleep. Okay, of course. Sometimes the alarm clock is the mother of the student. Okay, you inform your mother, please wake up in the morning. So do something or the other, make sure that you wake up on time. And on the day of the examination, as I told you, have your breakfast and go for the examination. Reach the examination hall before time. Okay, so it's not a crime if you come half an hour before. Okay, so make sure that you are there in the examination before time. Keep away from discussing the subject with your fellow classmates. Very, very, very important. Okay. The biggest problem is that when you all come to the examination hall, before you enter the examination hall, most of the students keep on talking to each other. Hey, did you read that? Did you read this? No. So the moment you suddenly realize, oh, this I have not read, what happened? Oh no, no, then you start immediately start going through all the pages, trying to find out where the matter is and trying to read it to the last minute. Don't read anything 15 minutes before entering the examination hall. Okay? Whatever you know, you will definitely remember. Whatever you don't know, you will never know it. Right? So there's no point in breaking your head trying to remember something which you don't know. But you should be in a position to remember what you know. So for that, you should not panic at all. Okay. So one of the best things which I suggest giving to the students is once you enter into the examination hall, okay, take a deep breath and leave out slowly. If you know how to meditate, you can also do meditation. But one of the best things which you can do before you get your answer sheet and before you start writing it, when you're asked to sit in the examination hall for those 5 minutes, when you have nothing else to do, instead of looking at the ceiling, looking at your friends, and looking and trying to find out what is the best way to know the answers, from your colleagues around you, best thing is to take a deep breath, leave out slowly. Take a deep breath, leave out slowly. Okay, so this will help all the blood supply to go to your brain. So it will help you to remember it better. And of course, it will relax you. Make sure that you will not have anxiety. Do not take any tablets for preventing anxiety. It is not good. Okay, you might end up getting sedated in the examination. So as I told you, most important thing is take a breath, deep breath, but of course, don't forget to leave out. Otherwise, you might faint. Okay, so make sure that you take a deep breath and leave out slowly. Okay. Before starting your paper, make sure that exactly how the question papers are. They vary from different universities. If you're supposed to write your name and registration number, check that you're written it correctly. But one thing which I'm sure is that you're not supposed to write your name or registration anywhere else in the answer book. Allocate your time, which I'll be talking about it very soon. Okay. Read or follow instructions very carefully. Okay. And if you have any doubts, clarify with the invigilator. Doubts regarding the instructions, not doubts regarding the question paper and answers for it from the invigilator. Okay. So if you are sure, if you have understood everything, make sure that you are ready for the exam. So once you get your paper, what to do? Rapidly scan through the paper. Okay. Make sure you go through it properly, especially instructions on the question paper also. Okay. Because sometimes they will say that only these questions you need to answer. Okay. Rapidly scan through the question paper. Answer the easier question first. Of course, this is in case you don't have a system where you don't have multiple choice. Okay. If multiple choice are there, I think usually what happens is the exams, they collect the answers for the multiple choice questions first. Okay. But once that part is over, when you have to answer the short essays and long essays, you don't have to follow the same order of the question paper. Okay. You can answer the easier questions first. But the only thing is make sure that you write the correct question number. Okay. Make sure that you write the correct question number when you're answering it. Okay. And if I'm not wrong, most of the universities don't have any choices. Okay. Except in multiple choice. Okay. But otherwise, you don't have any choice if I'm not wrong with the other questions. Okay. So make sure that you don't leave any question unanswered. And you don't have to go in for flowery language. Nobody is going to appreciate your English, your grammar, or your glamour. Okay. So don't you have to use any flowery language? Keep it as simple as possible. Remember this KISS principle. Keep it short and simple. Okay. So remember that principle. Write as simple as possible so that you don't waste time writing unnecessary things. If you suddenly find that your mind has gone blank, okay, do not panic. Okay. Just relax. Just for a few, as I told you, the same principle you can just follow. Just for 2 minutes, taking a deep breath, leave out slowly. Just relax, you will be able to remember anything. Do not panic. Panic only will cause more panic. Okay. And make sure that you leave last 5 to 10 minutes to check your answers. Okay. And see if you, by chance, if you have forgotten anything. As I told you, timing your answers. This is based on the question paper of ABSMIDS College. Okay. Thanks to Dr. Srilata, she gave me a copy of one of the question papers. Okay. 1 minute. Yes, madam.
Sir, can't hear you, sir. You're a bit
You're not able to hear me, madam?
No. It's frozen.
Frozen, no? Okay, I'll just log in. Okay. Am I audible and visible now? Am I audible and visible? Hello, madam. You are able to see me now? It stays itself for them.
No, sir. They're coming actually. Then come and we can't see anything. Nothing is coming.
Oh, okay. I think there's a problem there because here it is shown.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because they can see it in the mobile also.
Okay. So will you let me know when it is ready?
Yeah. Yes, sir. They're connecting. I'll just hold on.
Yeah, sure.
Connect. I can tell you now. It's recording in progress.
You can see me now? Huh?
No.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Just 2 minutes, sir.
Yeah. No problem.
Yes, sir. You
You can see me now?
just 1 minute, sir. There's some problem here.
Yes. Okay. Fine. No problem. So when was it frozen? At what point?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now it is fine. This and all was.
Yeah, over, sir.
Huh?
Next.
Is it visible now? Audible, visible,
Yes, sir.
or is it terrible?
No, sir. Please, sir.
Yeah, shall I continue?
This has been done. Next.
Just let me know whether I can continue.
Please continue, sir.
Okay. So I do not know when I was frozen. Okay. So now I shall do this thing. Okay. So read the example of before drawing. Don't panic. That's a very important thing which I was talking about. Okay. So yeah. So once you get your paper.
Yes, sir.
So I was talking about making sure that you write it very simply. Okay. Follow the principle of KISS. Keep it short and simple. Okay. This question paper is based on ABSMIDS Dental College. Dr. Sriyas was kind enough to give me this a sample question paper based on which. So we have, if you see here, multiple choice questions for 20 minutes. Okay, and I think you have 20 questions and you need to submit it within 20 minutes. Then we have short answers for 10 short answers, 10 marks each. Long answers, not 10 marks. I don't know exactly about the marks. I'm talking about the time. Okay, so we have 10 short answers and we have 2 long questions. Okay, now when you look at the timing, how to go about it, 20 minutes you have to allocate for multiple choice questions. But for short answer, allocate 10 minutes for each short answer, so which is 100 minutes. For long answer, 25 minutes for each, which is 50 minutes. So it's the total of 170 minutes. Okay, total of 170 minutes. So it's a 3 hours examination, right? So you have still 10 minutes for revision. Okay. Now this is what I have made. You can make your own. Okay, but make sure that you will something similar. Okay, you cannot have 5 minutes for long answer and no half an hour for short answer. Okay, so you need to have something similar and make sure that you have at least 5 to 10 minutes for revision at the end. Okay, so this is very important, and this you need to decide beforehand, even before you enter the examination hall. Okay, you need to know how well to time your answers. Other universities which have got different set of question paper, you need to make your own timing, okay, accordingly. Now let us come to answering these MCQs. Okay, so when it comes to the question of answering MCQs, always answer the ones which you know first, because see, you have 20 minutes, 20 questions. So if you finish off the answers which you know first, you'll probably get more time to answer others. Don't spend too much time on answer questions which you do not know the answer. Okay, there's no point. First, finish off. If you do not know something, go to the next one. Okay, try to finish off all those for which you know the answers first. For example, here we have a question. I've especially chosen ones which are good for dental anatomy. A Y-shaped occlusal groove is most likely to be seen. So you have to probably know the answer for this. Okay, so if you know it, you just have to say which one you want to answer. Okay, so the answer is mandibular second primum. Okay, so these are direct questions, and just having the knowledge, will probably help you to answer these questions. This is not an analytical question. Now, what if you do not know the answer, or what if you do not, if you're not sure of the answer? Sorry. What to do when you're answering MCQs when you are not sure of the answer? Okay, so for this we need to have Sherlock Holmes approach. Okay, so I think all of you know about Sherlock Holmes. Why is this called as Sherlock Holmes approach? Is that if you do not know the history of Sherlock Holmes, I'll talk about it, because for you Sherlock Holmes would mean Robert Downey Jr. But Sherlock Holmes here is a character created by Sir Dr. Arthur Conan Doyle. He was a doctor. When he started his practice, he was not having too many patients. So he didn't know what to do. He said, he has to earn money, na? So what he thought was, he'll start writing some detective stories and send it to a magazine called... Sorry? Okay. I think Cheryl, Ashuja, somebody is... Okay. So Arthur Conan Doyle, what he did was, he started writing detective stories. Okay. So those detective stories, he used to send it to Strand magazine. So in those detective stories, he created a character called Sherlock Holmes. The Sherlock Holmes character also was created based on his teacher, Sir John Bell. Sir John Bell, a surgeon himself. So in the college, while teaching the students, used to talk about, I think somebody else is also talking. So I request kindly whoever is talking, and kindly mute their speakers. I can see Cheryl, Ashuja, ABSMIDS, Nitte. Yeah. Tulu, I think. No? So unfortunately, I do not know Tulu to tell in Tulu not to talk. Yes. Okay. Right. Or is it Malayalam? Okay. So whoever is it, please mute your speakers. Okay. Right. So he had based this on his teacher. So his teacher was teaching him about diagnosis. He used to say that when you're diagnosing it, think of all the possibilities. Okay. And you list out the possibilities and you start eliminating one by one. Okay, this is probably not the diagnosis. This is not probably the diagnosis. And then ultimately you'll be left with one, and that would be the final diagnosis. Okay? So this was the Sherlock Holmes approach. Okay, eliminate whatever is not possible, and whatever is remaining would be the one which is the probable cause. Okay, so we can also use this Sherlock Holmes approach while dealing with answering MCQs when you are not sure of the answer. Okay. For example, here we have Which of the following is a factor or not a factor? Okay, not a factor for centric relation. So let us say you are not exactly sure of the answer. So what do? You start eliminating. Okay, it is centric relation. That means it is related to temporomandibular joint. Okay, of all these four, you see condylar head is part of temporomandibular joint. Little pterygoid muscle attached to temporomandibular joint, to the condyle. Okay, articular disc of temporomandibular joint is a part of temporomandibular joint. So whatever is remaining is one which is probably not related to centric relation. So therefore, the right answer is permanent first molar. Okay, so this is the art of eliminating what is not likely to be the answer. That is Sherlock Holmes approach. Now, how to answer questions when you do not know the answer at all? No, you don't know the answer at all. Of course, the best thing is to guess the answer. Okay, so what is this kind of guess called as? Sherlock Holmes means just guessing. Sheer luck. Okay, Holmes approach, or something what is called educated guess. The educated guess is slightly different than ordinary guess. Educated guess means you are guessing with certain amount of analytical skills. Analytical skills. You're not just like that guessing. Okay, so that is called as an educated guess. Okay, not just tossing a coin. Okay, so we don't, of course, I don't know whether we'll be allowed to toss a coin in the examination. Okay, now let us look at a question like this, for example. Ugly duckling stage is seen between 4 to 6 years, 7 to 9 years, 10 to 12 years, 13 to 15 years. So which of the four is probably the right answer? You don't know what to answer at all, let us say. Okay. So you are not being sure, you don't know the answer. So then you start thinking, okay, ugly duckling stage. So ugly duckling stage, you have, let us say, an idea that it is related to the teeth, right? So maybe the front teeth. So 4 to 6 years, all the permanent teeth, no permanent teeth is erupted, right? Except for molar and maybe mandibulars and incisor. So probably 4 to 6 years is completely eliminated. 13 to 15 years, most of the teeth have erupted by the time. So then probably it's not seen during the treatment, but it's seen during younger age, right? So we'll eliminate 13 to 15 years also. Is it 7 to 9 years or 10 to 12 years? So this is where either you have to toss a coin or again use your educated guess, using your brain. 7 to 9 years, 10 to 12 years. See, by 12 years, even the second molar knoll is erupted, right? So probably it is 7 to 9 years. So that is how you guess. Okay. And of course, the right answer is 7 to 9 years. Okay. So I don't think there's any negative marking if I'm not wrong for multiple choice questions. So if you do not know the answer, guess it. Okay. Don't just leave it. Okay. Because in case there is no negative marking. Okay. Now let us come to writing essay questions. So essay questions can be long or short. Okay. Except for the fact that if it's a long question, you need to write more, and probably you need to have more of the content. Otherwise, the way of writing a long question and answer to a long question in a short question is quite similar. Presentation is very important. Okay, all of you know who this actor is. So, but you don't see him like this in the movies, right? Okay, you see him like this in the movies. So that's why it's very important the way you present your answers. Okay. See, please remember one thing: when examiner is correcting a paper, yours is not the only paper. Okay, probably he might be correcting 30 to 40 papers a day, right? So when he is looking at your paper, so your first page itself should create a very good impression. Okay, so don't write in the first page and then cancel it and scratch it and then put a big into mark and then start writing in the next page, right? Your handwriting need not be beautiful, but it should definitely be neat and legible. Okay, so presentation of your answers is as important as your answers itself. Okay. Now, for example, let us say there's a long question like this: describe the morphology of maxillary first premolar. So I have started writing like this: premolar has got 5 surfaces, buccal, lingual, mesial, distal, occlusal. The buccal surface of maxillary first premolar is not a mesial, occlusal slope, but distal, occlusal slope, mesial and distal outline and a cervical outline. Is it good enough for a long question? Is it good to start with answer like this? No. Why? There's no introduction at all. Okay. So we should have an introduction about what is a premolar and so forth. and then you start describing. Okay, I'll show you the example also. So you start with the definition. No, you're not even told what is a premolar, right? Though the question has not been asked to define a premolar, because it's a long question, make sure that you start in a proper fashion. No? For example, premolar is defined like this. Okay, why it is called as a premolar. Okay, and then you also say it's also called as bicuspid. Okay, and then you talk about the arch traits, its functions. No, maybe you can also include about chronology, because it's a long essay. Okay, so you need to write in this fashion, so directly jumping to premolar has got 5 surfaces and so forth, right? So a definition, and then some kind of a small introduction about it, and then you start writing the answers. Okay, so this is in case of a long question. The body of the answer and short answers are quite similar. Okay, one thing which I would suggest is start each answer on a fresh page. The reason is, let us say, for example, you've written an answer and half of the page is complete. Don't write the next one immediately next to it. Okay, if there's a half a page still remaining, no problem. Go to the next page and start answering there. The reason is, if you suddenly remember something and you want to add to this, okay, you have at least half a page still for you to add what you have forgotten or you would like to add later on. To write immediately without any gap, okay, then probably you'll not have any space to add something later on if you remember something. Okay, but of course, it all depends upon the university rules also, whether you are allowed to leave such a gap. So if you're not allowed to give a half a page gap, at least give a small gap. That's another reason why you need to give a gap, because the examiners, when they correct, if you don't leave any gap, they might miss out while correcting your papers. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why you need to give a small amount of gap so that you delineate one answer from the other. So as I told you, give a gap and answer in points wherever possible. Okay, I'll tell you the reasons of how to go for answering in points. The advantage is that, number one, the examiners find it easy to read your points. Like, see, if I elaborated the points here, when you're looking at it, okay, it has got a better visual appeal. Okay, and some of the examiners who like more quantity than quality, they are also going to be happy because you will have more quantity present. Okay, it takes less amount of time when you're writing in points. And more important is that the idea of examination is that the examiner should understand that you have understood. So when you write like this in points, it makes it easy for the examiner to understand that you have understood the subject. Okay, and you can use bullets or numbers. I would prefer bullets because when you use numbers, it becomes a problem sometimes. Let us say, for example, you've written these advantages like this. No, you've written 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let us say your next question is 6. Okay, the answer to the next question, if you're writing it 6 there and start writing the answer, sometimes the examiner can get confused that this is the 6th advantage. Okay, so that's why I prefer if you use bullets rather than numbers to avoid this kind of confusion while writing the answers. Okay, avoid short forms. Don't use any WhatsApp lingo. Using all BTW, all those short forms. Please don't use it in the examination. Don't expect the examiner to know all SMS language. Very useful if you use these flow or schematic diagrams. I'll show you some examples. You'll be able to understand it better. Draw label diagrams wherever possible, even if they have not specified in the question. Okay, if you can draw a label diagram, I told you earlier also, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay, and if you're quite good at drawing, draw label diagrams. Diagrams need not be beautiful, but they should be accurate. Like, for example, see here, this is about bundle bone. Okay, can you see here? Number of lines which you can see is around 8 lines. Okay, the same matter, you see what I've done. So can you see this part? Okay, I call them as caterpillars. Okay, if you have made a mistake, some students they just keep on trying to obscuring it by scratching on it. Okay, I call them as caterpillars because they look like caterpillars. Okay, we are not writing any secret stuff that you need to make sure that the exam does not read it at all. Okay, if you make a mistake, it's okay. Sometimes we do make mistakes. Just strike it off with single line. I'll show you the example here. You can see on this side, right? You can see that bundle bone is part of the alveolar bone. You have given a definition, left a gap, and then you started writing all the features in points. Okay, these small arrows on the side are the bullets. Okay, wherever we have made a mistake, we have just struck it off with a single line. Okay, the content is the same. Whatever is written there has been written here. Whatever is here is also written here. But because it is written in points, the same content is 14 lines, whereas here it is only 8 lines. Okay, so you are also satisfying examiners who want more quantity. Okay, and at the same time, you are also satisfying examiners who want quality. Okay, so that's the advantage of writing, in form of points. But some people know they want to get more number of lines by increasing the size of their writing. Please don't do that. This matter here and here is same, but because this person has started writing, with such big font size, okay, you can see it's quite, occupied more number of lines, nearly 15 or 14 lines. So please don't do that. The examiner can easily look through that, okay? So, which is not correct. As I told you, we can also use flow charts. Let us say, for example, when asked about composition of blood, okay? So you just use a flow chart like this. It's easy for an examiner to easily understand what you've written. It does not take too much of time. Not only that, if you're writing it in points, probably you might get half a page. But if you use a nice flow chart like this, probably the entire page you can show or utilize it for showing your flow chart. Okay. And also very useful for explanation. Let us say, for example, if somebody, if you're asked in the examination, the fate of Hertwig's epithelial root sheath, when you want to try to explain it, in form of a paragraph, it becomes very difficult for the examiner to read it, for you to write it takes a long time. Whereas if you have a flow chart like this, where you can show the Hertwig's epithelial root sheath, ultimately becomes a typical sort of fallacy. At the same time, it causes differentiation of orantoblast. It also helps in the formation of iron layers or hopeful smith. And when it disintegrates, it permits the cementoblast to deposit cementum on the root surface. It becomes so easy when we have a flow chart like this. Okay. So whatever you are learning in the class, in the lecture, try to create your own flow charts, which you can easily write in the examination. And as I told you, when you have such kind of study notes, it becomes so easy for you to read a day before the examination or revise a day before the examination. So let's come to the last part of my presentation about viva voce or orals. Okay, of course we keep saying viva voce. Actually I think it's pronounced as viva voce. Okay, or orals. How to answer better in the examination. Okay. So what is this viva all about or orals all about? Basically, it is a secondary assessment. Okay? It tests a candidate's ability. Okay, his annual performance, overall knowledge, probably only communication skills. Okay, and very important analytical skills. Okay, so they want you to think during viva. Okay, so the very important aspect of viva is you need to be in a position where you can think properly. Okay, analyze properly. So you need to be calm and composed during viva. Okay, so the same rule holds good here, which was in the case of written examination. Before entering the hall, do not discuss with your classmates. Okay, just especially when you are going to be called for viva, till the last minute, don't keep on looking at the textbook, right? And trying to find out answers, and just before, what did he ask? What question was asked for the previous candidate? Please don't do those things. Okay, just remain calm and composed. You'll really do well. Okay, so what should you do before the viva? The previous day, read with viva voce in mind. Okay, definitions, outlines, classifications, uses, advantages, disadvantages, indications, contraindications, like that. Okay, tables, characteristic features. Okay, viva, the previous day you can practice with your colleagues. Okay, maybe let us say you have come across some something very different. Okay, you can ask your classmate, what is this? Similar fashion, your friend can ask you questions and you can try to answer each other. This is the day before. Okay, and make sure that you keep all your records and journals very handy, because you probably sometimes you have to show these records and journals at the time of viva. Okay, and as I told you, please learn to relax. Avoid discussions with your classmates before going for orals. Okay. So how to go about it? Once you have entered the examination hall or the practical hall where the Viva is taking place, first and most important, appear confident. Okay. Don't appear nervous. Okay. Of course, so some students might think that if they appear nervous, no, the examiner will sympathize with them and be nice to them. No, most of them can easily see through what you are doing. Okay. So don't try to get sympathy from examiners. Okay. So appear confident. At the same time, don't appear overconfident. Okay. Don't be overconfident, because nobody likes, I mean, like, examiners like students who are smart, but smart as they don't like. Okay. So don't try to think that you are, you ask me whatever questions you want, I will answer. That kind of confidence is not good. Okay. Be polite, be humble, but at the same time also be confident that you'll be able to answer quite well. As I told you, same thing you can do even here. Just before entering the hall, what I told about the written examination, take a deep breath and leave out slowly so that you will be quite relaxed before you can answer. Okay. Dress well. You're going for an examination. What does dress got to do with examination? A person who is smart, dressed well, will he answer better than a person who is not dressed well? No, maybe not. Okay. The reason why you should dress well, in case of guys, clean shaven, of course, unless they are having nowadays they have different kinds of beards, goatee and so forth. But even if you are sporting a beard, make sure that it is well trimmed. Okay. The hair is well combed, or not unkempt hairstyle and all. The reason is that if you dress well, appear smart, the examiner knows that you are giving importance for the Viva, the orals. Okay. If you're just going very casually and say, okay, ask me questions, so it will appear as if that you are not giving importance to the examiner or the examination. Okay. So that is the reason why you need to dress well for the examination. But at the same time, please realize that you are not going for some fashion show. Okay. Don't have to appear glamorous. Okay. I remember, during a time in Bombay, the college where I was teaching, the students from our college had to go to a different college, the same another dental college within Bombay only. They had to go to a different college for examination because ours was a new college, and therefore, both the examiners from a different college. So when the students were going, I found some of the girl students, they were having all oil dripping all over their face and looking very shabby. I said, what is this? How are you going like this for the examination? So they said, no, sir. One of the examiners apparently is a misogynist. Misogynist means he doesn't like girls. He probably had some failure in love a long time back, so he doesn't like girls. So and especially good-looking girls, he doesn't like. So he's very rude to them during the examination. So we want to avoid looking good. Okay, so they are intentionally looking ugly so that they will not create problems for themselves in the examination. It's all unnecessary, actually. So ultimately, it's not your looks which are going to matter. It's your knowledge which is going to matter. That your behavior, your attitude. Okay? So you don't have to intentionally look beautiful or intentionally look ugly when you're going for an examination. Okay. 3, if you know that you're right, stick to your answer. Sometimes examiners have this habit of making sure whether you really know the answer correctly or not. So let us say, for example, they ask you, is enamel rod hypermineralized or hypomineralized? And you say, sir, it is hypermineralized. What? Enamel rods are hypomineralized? I mean, hypermineralized? Are you sure? Is it not hypomineralized? So if you are really not sure of the answer, what you will say? No, sir. Yes, sir. It is hypomineralized. No, it is not correct. Okay. If you are sure of the answer, stick to your answer. You don't have to change your answer just because the examiner is threatening, because they're just sometimes probably checking whether you know the right answer or not. Okay. Because you're not always wrong. Okay. So you are sure of the answer, stick to it. At the same time, please remember, examiner is always right. Why I'm telling this is, sometimes you have been taught something. in your college, whereas the examiner probably has got a different opinion about it. And if you answered it, they go, no, it is not correct. So you should know whether the examiner is just trying to test you, or if he is not having the concept which you have in mind. So if you think that, okay, examiner has got a different concept, then you agree with him. Don't have to try to prove that he is wrong. Don't try to, no, you're wrong, sir. No, it is there in the book. You can just refer, Orban's page number 364, paragraph, the fourth paragraph on the left-hand side, fourth line. This is there, sir. You don't have to prove that examiner is wrong, okay? Don't insist if the examiner does not agree with you, okay? Because always examiner can ask questions for which you do not know the answer. So if you irritate the examiner like this, then probably he will start asking questions for which you do not know the answer. More important, he's going to give you marks, right? Okay, so be nice to him, okay? Nice to him in the sense, don't have to argue with him, don't have to fight with him, right? Okay, so this is what you need to remember during your orals. Experience is the worst teacher. It gives the test before presenting the lesson. So the reason why I'm telling this is that most of the time, we get the marks first, and then we get the experience out of it. Oh, I should have studied properly. I should have read this. I should have taken a little more interest, before going for the examination. Because once you get the result, then you realize, no, I shouldn't have done this. So in that way, experience is the worst teacher, because it gives you the test, and then you get the result. It's not that you get the lesson first and then the examination. Okay. So I hope all of you have good experiences, so that you don't end up learning from those experiences in the worst way. Okay. There's one thing more painful than learning from experience. That is not learning from experience. This is especially for those students who have not been successful in the examination. I wouldn't use the word failure, because nobody is a failure. We might sometimes not find success in what we're doing. Find out the reason why you did not find success. Okay? Learn from it and improve yourself. There's no point in sulking, getting depressed and upset. Okay? So one thing which is more painful than learning from experience is not learning from experience. Okay? So that is very important. So in my opinion, 3 things which are important for a student. Ask. Okay? ASK. Attitude, skill, knowledge. See, I told you, it is attitude comes first, then the skill, and then the knowledge. It is not knowledge which comes first. Any student who really wants to really come up in life, be successful, okay, have the right attitude, cultivate right attitude. I want to learn. I want to improve myself. I really want to do well. If you have that kind of a positive and right attitude, then you will get the skill and the knowledge. Okay, so please remember this. Have the right attitude, then you'll get skill and knowledge. There's no point in just having knowledge. If you have knowledge, but if you are arrogant, if you are not humble, then you will not definitely achieve success. Okay, so I shall probably end by showing a video. One of my favorite videos. I think you can see this. It's there, the Discovery Channel. Okay. And suddenly you find somebody coming. This is one of my favorite videos, which shows guys saving the deer from the cheetah. This is just to show you that anything is possible. Okay, just remember 4 words: I can, I will. I can, I will. Then you'll be able to do anything you want. Okay. So with these few words, thank you very much for your kind attention. Any questions? So please feel free to ask me. In case you don't get sufficient time to ask me questions, or if you're having questions later on, okay, whenever you're studying, if you want me to help you in any way, to help you in making a timetable or helping you how to organize yourself or manage your time, please feel free to contact me. And that is my email ID, subrarvi@gmail.com. All small letters, small guy, so small letters, subrarvi@gmail.com. Okay. So any questions, doubts, clarifications, please feel free to ask me now. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. for the wonderful and very informative presentation and very inspirational words for our students. And it was a very wonderful presentation on how to study and how to do well in the examination. I'm sure all of our students have got the tips and tricks of how to crack the examination as well as how to study. Right, students? Yes.
Hello.
Thank you once again, sir.
I cannot hear you very clearly, but any questions are there?
Sir, there are a couple of questions, but I think you have already answered it in your slides, sir. It was on how to not to panic in the exam and how to remember the answers. So I think you have already covered it in your slides.
I'm not able to hear you very clearly. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah. So there was a couple of questions.
Yeah, please do ask the questions. Yeah. Because there's a lot of echoing around. See if you can adjust it. A lot of echoing the hall.
Yes, sir.
Or if you can even type the question or something like that, and I can see it, fine. Or you can just tell me the question, no problem. Or you can, if somebody can even type it on the chat box, I can have a look at it.
Sorry, sir, actually we've gone beyond schedule. And our students have been waiting for a break. So actually, because you've answered most of the questions in your presentation, I think you, who has been talking for such a long time, I think we all should give break. So we will, you've covered all the questions, sir. So thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. So I think
thank you.
So the students can go for a break. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Introduce our second speaker of the day, Professor Dr. Monica Solomon, Professor of Oral Pathology, Manipal Dental College.
Yeah, good afternoon all. Good afternoon, ma'am. Nice to see you. So, welcome back after a refreshing break. So, I have the pleasure today of introducing to you our next speaker for the day. That is Professor Dr. Monica Solomon. She is currently a professor in the Department of Oral Pathology and Microbiology at Manipal College of Dental Sciences, Manipal. She has formerly headed the department in the same institute from June 2013 to June 2020. She received her bachelor's degree in 1994 and master's degree in 1996 from Manipal University, and went on to achieve a PhD degree from Manipal University in 2015. She has more than 20 years of teaching experience and has been an examiner for undergraduate and postgraduate students and examinations at various institutions. She has won a plethora of awards for oral presentations in the subject at various national and international platforms. Apart from being an excellent academician, she is an active researcher, and her research interests lie in studying various biomarkers in oral potentially malignant and malignant lesions. She has guided several undergraduate and postgraduate research projects and also has externally funded research projects to her credit, which also includes international collaborations with University of Chicago, USA, and Queen Mary University of London. She has more than 60 publications and is a reviewer for many national and international journals. She is a member of various academic associations. She is also a good orator, which is seen through her brilliant lectures
at various dental education programs. I have known ma'am as a good friend, who is also a very humble and warm person. Thank you for taking your time out for our students today, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr.
I'm sure your words of inspiration will kindle further interest and enthusiasm in this fascinating subject and encourage many more to consider it as a specialty in their career. Now, the lecture has been pre-recorded by ma'am and will be played in a short while. Questions, if any, will be addressed by ma'am at the end of the lecture. Ma'am will be happy to address any questions at the end of the lecture. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you. Recorded.
Good morning, everyone. It's really wonderful that after such a long time through this pandemic, we are all able to gather together, meet one another, and interact with one another. It's been really challenging times for everyone, but I believe that we are going to see brighter days very soon. I'm really grateful to Dr. Srilata, the professor and head of the Department of Oral Pathology, for giving me this opportunity. Research. Research is everywhere. Research is in every part of our day-to-day life. When we want to buy an important gadget like a cell phone or a laptop, what do? We speak to our friends. We read magazines to see the reviews of these important gadgets. We find out the price for every one of them. And finally, when it fulfills all that we desire, and fulfills all the criteria that we want, we finally buy the particular gadget that we want. And more recently, the COVID-19 vaccines. We want to know what are the different types of vaccines that are available. What is the composition of these vaccines? What is the function of these vaccines? And is there any side effect for these vaccines? So what is research? There are a lot of definitions for research, but in a simple way, research is a systematized effort to gain new knowledge. It is a creative and systematic work to increase the stock of our knowledge. When we talk about research in health sciences, all the research hinges upon this acronym, which is Pico. So what is Pico? P stands for population. What population of individuals are we looking at? Who are our patients? Are they diabetic patients? Are they patients with oral cancer? Are they patients who are undergoing kidney dialysis? Or are they children who are having dental caries? What are the patient population that we are looking at? Intervention. What are we going to do? Are we going to employ a new diagnostic test? Are we going to administer a new medication? Or are we going to teach the children something new so that they can improve their quality of life? They can reduce the incidence of dental caries occurring in them. So what is this intervention that we are going to do? And C stands for control. We always need a control because we need to know whether our intervention is going to work or not, right? So you always have to have a control group. So you need to have a population. For example, you are going to see certain diabetic patients. So in the diabetic patients also, you are going to use a new medication for one set of diabetic patients, and you're not going to use that for the other half of the diabetic patients. And if you're going to see any improvement in the group of patients wherein you are given an intervention, then you know whether this new intervention is going to work or it is not going to work. And O stands for outcome. What is the outcome? Is this diagnostic test going to be very useful? Is it going to help in early detection? Is this new medication going to work really well? Or is this new knowledge in patients going to help them in their life? That is the outcome that we are going to look at. So always remember, research in health sciences hinges upon Pico, the population, intervention that you're going to do, a control group of patients, and also what is the outcome. When we talk about research, there are different types of research. For example, you're all studying about different diseases of the oral cavity, like you're studying about amelogenesis imperfecta, you have studied about lichen planus, you have studied about dental caries. So one day you are all reading something about lichen planus and you have a new thought in your mind. So then you write to the editor and you say that you have read this article and you find that there's this new concept that the researchers can look into. And that is what is an editorial. The next type of research is just a review. You have read a lot of articles about amelogenesis imperfecta. And so you are compiling all those research work together and you are making a data about it. That's a review. And then a case report. You have seen an interesting case of lichen planus. So you note down all the clinical features of the patient, the histopathology of the lesion, and what are the important tests that you have done, and you describe everything. That is a case report. Likewise, you see about 2 or 3 patients with lichen planus, and you write a case series about it. You write all the features about the 3 different cases that you have seen. And you see if there's anything different in the different cases. So that is a case series. And then you have a cross-sectional study. What is a cross-sectional study? For example, in this period of time, that is in this 2 years, 2020 and 2021, you're looking at all the case files and you're just looking at the patients who have come to the dental clinic with lichen planus. So you are studying about 20 or 30 patients have come. So you make a note of that. You write all the clinical details. You write the gender of the patient, what type of lesion it was, and you make an entire data about it. That is called a cross-sectional study. Case control study. Case control, you want to try something new. You want to try to give some antioxidants for the lichen planus patients or some steroids. You want to try some new medication for them. So among the patients that come to you, for some of them, you try to give a particular medication, and for the others, you don't give the medication. And you want to see, is there any improvement in these patients in whom the medication has been given? That is a case control study. And then there's a cohort study. Cohort studies can either be retrospective studies or prospective studies. Cohort studies are, for example, in about 10 years ago, like 2010 to 2015, you see all the patients who have come with oral cancer. You go to the medical records department and you find out all the patients who had oral cancer between 2010 and 2015. And then now, from 2018 to 2021, you follow up those same patients. You take their records again and see how many of them have survived, how many of them the oral cancer did not recur, so they are disease-free, how many of them died. So you have a follow-up. So it can either be a retrospective study or it can be a prospective study. Prospective studies, now you're seeing about 30 cases of oral cancer patients, and you're going to observe them every year. Every year you're going to see what is the status of these patients. That is called a cohort study. And then a randomized control trial. These are control trials, especially for drug administration. So randomized control is you randomly give a particular treatment. Like you decide the patients who come on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I am going to give a new kind of drug. And for all the other patients, I'm not going to give a drug. I probably will give a placebo. And then you find out what is the outcome. That is called a randomized control trial. And then there are systematic review, which is very similar to the reviews that you're doing. But in these reviews, it is very systematically done year-wise, and you collect all the data over the past few years. You don't miss anything. That is called a systematic review. And what is a meta-analysis? A meta-analysis is one in which you have collected the data of all the studies. Even if you have some studies of oral cancer, whatever statistical analysis they have done, you're going to compile everything. That is called a meta-analysis. In a systematic review, you only review. You don't compile the data or the results found in other studies. You only carry out a review. Whereas in meta-analysis, whatever results they have got, you're going to compile everything. That is called a meta-analysis. Okay, so these are the different types of research. Now, even in this, nowadays, we always talk about evidence-based medicine or evidence-based dentistry. So this is the hierarchy of evidence. They say the highest level of evidence comes from systematic reviews and meta-analysis. Right? They give the highest level of evidence. And because of this high level of evidence, this can be used for treatment planning. Okay, but all the systematic review and meta-analysis will again depend on all the other types of studies. Right? So even though these are the highest level of evidence, these studies are also very, very important, because based on these studies only can we arrive at systematic reviews or meta-analysis. Okay, so remember, this is kind of a pyramid. It's called the hierarchy of evidence. Okay, so it shows the level of evidence of each type of study. Now, in addition to this, there are different research methodologies. Now, what are these research methodologies? Right, there are mainly two types. One is quantitative and one is qualitative. Now, what is qualitative? Qualitative is only descriptive. You have to analyze what people are saying. It's like how you have surveys, how you have questionnaires. They're all based on population kind of studies. So you have these grounded studies, ethnographical studies, narrative studies, and case studies. It's all a description of a person's experience. So we go about looking at people in the community, and we have to understand what their experience is or what is it they say. That is called a qualitative study. But most of our studies are quantitative, where you have numbers and you have data. That is called quantitative studies. So in quantitative, there's a simple type called descriptive, wherein over a period of time you are studying all the odontogenic cysts and odontogenic tumors in your population, like Dakshina Kannada or in Udupi district. So we see the number of odontogenic cysts or odontogenic tumors that we saw over a period of 20 or 30 years. And then we describe what was the most common odontogenic cyst, what is the most common odontogenic tumor, what was the age group, what was the site of these tumors. So it's just a description of data. And then you have experimental. This is when you do some kind of a study. It can be observational, wherein, for example, you want to see the pH of saliva in children, and you want to determine whether the pH has any influence on dental caries. So that is an experimental study. Or even you want to check something in blood levels, or even in oral cancer, we use certain kinds of markers on tumor tissue samples. So those are observational studies. Case control is how you do a testing only on the cases, and you don't do it on control population. And then the studies of randomized controlled trials, they are also experimental studies. So most of the studies that we do are mainly quantitative. Of course, there are qualitative studies also, which are surveys or questionnaire-based studies. Right. Now, whenever you embark on carrying out a research project, right, you have to plan ahead. Plan well ahead. For example, you're all students. You have to plan when you can do your research projects. If you're going to have sessionals in the coming 2 weeks, you cannot carry out a research project at that time. If you're going to have important postings and you have some end posting exams, then also you will not be able to carry out any research. So you have to plan your time. Plan like just before the vacation or when there are no exams going on. So plan a particular time well ahead. Okay, plan, okay, so in this month I'm going to be relatively free. I can do something in this time. Second thing is you have to choose a topic. When you have to choose a topic, you have to conduct a very good literature search. Okay, only then you can think of a good topic to do your research on. And when you select a topic, you should be very passionate about it. You must like the topic that you're going to do your research on. It cannot be just some topic you just randomly select and you want to do something. You have to be passionate. You must be curious. You want to know what is going to happen, and you should be very passionate about the topic that you're going to do. Even if it's a very basic thing, it may be just one important factor, but that is also going to carry a lot of weight. So be passionate with whatever you're going to do. Okay. So how do you select a research topic? First of all, it has to be feasible. So when we say feasible, what does it mean? It means that you have to have a good number of patients. For example, in your area, we don't see patients with a lot of these kind of granulomatous lesions, okay, or some kind of Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? We will not have that many patients, so you can't do a lot of research on them. You may get just about 5 to 10 cases, so that will be very difficult. So you just see whether the topic that you have selected, whether you have enough patients for that. Okay, what are the cases that you're going to get? That is very important. Second thing, you need a facility to carry out any kind of experiment. So you should be able to know whether in your college, in the department that you are there, are there these facilities for you to carry out your research? Or if it is not there, you have to look around in your town and see whether there are some research centers wherein you can do this kind of research work. If you're doing something on stereo microscope, or if you're going to do something on a molecular technique. So you have to know where you will be able to carry out the research project or carry out the experiment. Another thing very important is finance. Finance is also very important because most of the research experiments, they need a lot of money, especially molecular studies. Molecular studies are very expensive. So if you are planning to do a study on some molecular level studies, you have to try to get a grant. There are a lot of student grants which are available, and you should try to apply for them and try to get a grant so that you can do your study. And always see that there is someone to help you. Many times it may not be you may not be able to do it on your own, so try to have your friends or your batchmates to help you out in the research projects. So you can have 2 or 3 of you can group together and you can do your project. Okay. Then the topic should be interesting, right? It should be interesting for you, and it should be a current event. Like, now there are a lot of research work going on in COVID, so you can also do something related to COVID and dentistry. So look for some topic, or you look for something where you can think about what you can assess. Okay. And then it should be something novel. So even when you're reading your literature, you will see that so many studies have already been done. But even if you want to see one parameter, something very small that is novel, that is also very good. It may look, oh, it's very simple, why do I have to look at it? But you never know how important it is and what outcome you may get out of it. Okay, so like they say, little drops of water make a mighty ocean. So like that, whatever information you give into the scientific community, it will be very, very helpful. Okay. And another important thing is ethical. You should always do your research in a very ethical and scientific manner. You can't just randomly go to somebody on the street and ask them a lot of questions or ask them to do a general examination on them. You have to get approval from them, and only then you can do any kind of research. Or you can't just go to the ward and since the patients are there, just get data from them or do some kind of examination on them. No, you have to be very ethical, be very considerate to people and to patients. Okay, so always whenever you select a topic, always remember the fine principle. It should be feasible, it should be interesting, it should be novel, and it should be ethical. So what are the steps when you carry out a research? First of all, select the research topic based on the fine principle. Second thing is you have to design your study. That is called a protocol. How are you going to find what you're looking for? Like, this is what you're looking for, but what is the experiment that you need to do to get that information? So you should be very thorough with that. You should know how many patients you're going to take, who are the patients that you're going to recruit for the study, and how many patients and the inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria, all that should be done in detail. Okay, and always before you finalize your protocol, you have to have a statistical consultation. So when you go to a statistician, he will tell you what is the sample size. They will calculate, they've done a lot of these biomedical research, and so they will know how to calculate the sample size and what are the statistical tests. So in your protocol, you have to mention this. What is your sample size? There's a formula for it. So you enter that formula and you'll come to know what is the sample size. You have to mention what the statistic tests which are done. This can be given only by the statistician. And then once you have your protocol ready, you have to get an ethical approval. Nowadays, for every study, you need ethical approval. And this is not only retrospective studies, but now even for questionnaire-based studies, you need ethics approval from the ethics committee, even for your in vitro study. Suppose you have an extracted tooth and you're trying to do some kind of a cavity preparation study. You want to check micro leakage. You're not doing it on a human being, you're doing it on something which is outside the body. Still, you have to get ethical approval. Everything, questionnaire studies, in vitro studies, any kind of retrospective studies, every study has to be approved by the ethics committee of your institution. Okay, and do your experiment very meticulously. Okay, everything very carefully. And even when you do the experiment, sometimes you may be able to give your samples to a different lab. Okay, and you shouldn't forget it like that. I've just given it to them, they will have to do it. You should know every detail about that experiment. You should know it thoroughly, right? You should know why the experiment is being done, what are the parts of the experiment, what is the machine which is being used for the experiment, and how are you getting the data. Okay, even though someone else may be doing it, you should also be aware of it. So after you finish your study, compile all your data in a very systematic manner, and then you subject it to statistical analysis. So your statistician will definitely help you with that. But after the statistical analysis, you will only get numbers. You will get numbers and values. So you have to know how to interpret it, okay, in a scientific manner. And only then you will get the answer to your question, okay, to what you are looking for. You will get the answer for that only after you interpret it in a scientific manner. Okay, statistical analysis will give you numbers, will give you certain correlations, but you need to interpret it. So you have to look at other studies which have been done earlier, and you have to see whether their results and the result that you have got is similar or it is different, and you have to nicely document it. Okay. And then once everything is done, always publish whatever you have done. It may be something very small, but never mind. Try to publish it. Okay. Anything, try to publish it in a Scopus or a PubMed index journals. Okay, for you all, it's okay, Scopus, or even you can publish it in Web of Science journals are also there. So you have to do your publication. So even what is very little, try to publish it. Okay, write it properly. You can always get help from your teachers with whom you're working. Okay, so what are the key points in research? First of all, you have to be interested in the topic. You should like what study you are going to do, and you should be committed towards it. You should be committed towards completing it. You shouldn't just leave it halfway. The level of completion is when you publish the article or publish the research work that you have done. That is the commitment that you should have towards the research project from the beginning till the end. And when you conduct the experiment, do it very meticulously and know the entire process of the experiment. Okay, and then when you do your data collection, you should document all the findings. Okay, and you should maintain a very good lab notebook in which you write every day what you have done, how many cases you have tested, what is the experiment that you have conducted, everything in detail. You have to maintain a very good lab notebook. And even when you are in your clinics, even day to day, whether you're doing a research or not, what you should do is maintain a little notebook, and all the cases that you see, you would have seen yourself, or you would see your teachers would be seeing a particular case, have a little notebook and note down everything about that case. Okay, when you go back or even when you are in your posting, make a note. What was the patient's name, his hospital number, age, gender, what was the finding, what was interesting about it, what did the teacher discuss about it. Have this little notebook and maintain it every day. You never know how useful it will be. Later on, you will see that you have seen so many patients and you have seen what kind of patients you have seen. You'll get a lot of information from that. Okay. And data interpretation, that also should be done very well. Do an in-depth statistical analysis. Okay. And then you have to arrive at a scientific conclusion. Like I said, statistics will give you only numbers. You need to interpret it into and bring a scientific conclusion. So that is very important. Okay, so this lab notebook, what you carry should have all the details. Okay, if you're doing an experiment, have the title, what was your project, what was the objective, and have your protocols, all the calculations, what is the pH of the reagents that you're going to use, what is the speed of the centrifuge, what is the type of water that has been used, everything you should note down and keep it with you. Okay, so each day, not just randomly, just the beginning when you start the experiment, but every day what you have done, you have to write it in this lab book. So that will help you, especially at the end when you're doing your data analysis or when you're about to publish it. Because when you publish it, sometimes the reviewers will ask certain questions. So that time what you write in this lab notebook will be very, very helpful, and you can reply to the reviewers' comments. So this is when I was doing my immunohistochemical study. I used to have this kind of a detailed notes about how I have to carry out the research project and what are the steps in the immunohistochemistry, what are the buffers, how much of the buffer we need to do to get the reagent, especially for the chromogen. You have to use the buffer and the chromogen. So what is the ratio? So everything I had written. So this is just an example. I'm sure you all can do a much better work than this. So have a nice little lab notebook as well as a clinical notebook to note down all the details. So as you are all students in dentistry, what are the small studies that you can do being students also? So one, you're all studying about variation in the shape of the teeth. So you look around and you see in patients if they have come up with any variation in the shape of the teeth, right? You have studied about fusion, you studied dilaceration, dents and dente. So when you are in your clinics, make a note if you see any patient with these variations in the shape of the teeth. Then you can see the efficacy of dental restorative materials. That is also very good. How many patients come with a fracture restoration, or how many patients come with the secondary dental caries, even though a restoration has been done. So you can see that. Okay. Then in children, you can see the incidence of dental caries in children. And even in this, you can do a lot of little studies, like when you do the fluoride application, is there any improvement? Is the incidence of dental caries less in these children? There are a lot of school programs for children, so you can do some small research in that. And then you can do studies related to candidiasis and dentures, right? And you can also have a look at the teeth that are affected with aggressive periodontitis, right? In elderly patients, make a note of which are the teeth that have undergone periodontitis, right? And to what extent. And then you all have studied all the theories of dentin hypersensitivity. So you can see patients in whom there is dental sensitivity. Identify the teeth in which there's dentin sensitivity, more predominantly. Okay, so you ask the patient which tooth has got dentin sensitivity. Okay, and if they can identify that, then it's easy for you. You can make a note and you can come up with an outcome for it. And then you can do small studies like smears can be done. Oral smears can be taken for early detection of oral cancer. See what are the changes which are there in the epithelial cell, any kind of cellular pleomorphism correlated with habits, And it is very good because oral cancer is one of the leading cancers in the country. So if you can help in early detection, that will be very, very good. Okay, so research can be a very fascinating part if we follow some small steps. Okay, the first one is select an interesting and exciting research question. Have a clear and well-structured research protocol. Carry out the experiment with precision. And always have an accurate data collection and analysis. And the end result of the study should have a relevant scientific interpretation. Okay, so you have to give an information to the general population of what improvements can be done, or if there's any further research can be done in that area, because you never know. Why do we do all this research? Because the data that we get at many times, it can be useful in formulation of health policies. So that is very, very important. Okay, so that's why I said any little study that you do, one small factor also can go a long way in treating diseases. Okay. Okay. And finally, you should publish your research work in a well-recognized journal. Okay, and with that, you will have so much of fulfillment and joy. Right? It's really a great feeling when your research work is published in a very good journal. Okay, so if you follow all these steps, you will. I'm sure that you will all enjoy the path of research. Okay, so these are your acknowledgements. So I must thank you all and happy researching. Thank you so much.
Start the game of quiz. I request team A, Srireka, Abhiya, Team B, Aaron, Advait, Ajit, Team C, Sanjay, Pranav, Roshan and Sanjay. Team D, Ashwin, Megan, Rakshit and Delphin.
Yeah, so we'll just hurry up with the quiz. So we'll have 4 rounds, round 1, round 2, round 3 and round 4. So each round you'll come across as the time proceeds. So we'll start with the round 1.
Good afternoon all. Today we'll be presenting our drama. The group members are Kriti Prakash Sur will be playing the Keris, Aritra Bhattacharya will be playing the child, Srisha Subramani will be playing the role of dentist, and I'm your narrator, Ruben. And yeah, we'll start. Scene 1. Aritra is sleeping. It's a new morning. Aritra wakes up and goes to brush his teeth as usual.
We were
Aritra begins to experience pain in his teeth, he decides to visit a dentist, and he chose ABSMIDS because what else?
Hello, come, sit. Take you. What's your name, beta? What's your age? 30. Okay, what's your problem? Oh, okay. Let me see. Come sit here. प्रॉब्लम नहीं है तेरा एज के लिए कॉमन है लाइक योर सेकेंड थिंग मोलर इज इरप्टिंग थोड़े दिन पेन रहेगा और यू हैव टू टेक केयर ऑफ योर टीथ एंड नाउ यू हैव टू ब्रश ट्वाइस अ डे एंड मेंटेन प्रॉपर ओरल हाइजीन
Thank you, doctor. Aritra comes back home. He still experiences pain, due to which he decides not to brush that night.
छोड़ देता हूँ
2 hours later.
बहुत भूख लगी है कुछ चिप्स और चॉकलेट खा लेता हूँ
Due to irregular brushing for over 2 weeks and improper oral hygiene, it led to the rise of caries.
As you probably know me, I'm the bad guy. I'm caries. Ha! This kid doesn't even know if he'll not brush and take proper oral hygiene, I'll become stronger. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. Not this time. It's not a tooth, baby. It's me. It's caries. I'll give you pain, sorrows, difficulties, make your life miserable. I'll convert into cavity. My fellow mates, bacteria and acid will attack on your pulp, will make it swell and press your nerves. Ha ha ha.
The pain increases, so Aritra decides to visit the dentist again.
Hello, Aritra. Come, sit. What's the problem now? Okay, come.
Don't you brush, Aritra?
Oh, that's the problem. Because of that now, it led to your caries. Now I have to treat your caries, otherwise it will reach your pulp and I have to do root canal and all. So now I will treat your caries. I will use blade and then I will remove your decayed material and I will fill your cavity with composite material.
Composite material it seems. Huh. Drill and all he'll use. Funny. He can do nothing. I'm inevitable and I'm invincible.
The doctor now begins with the cavity filling. He removes the decayed material from the tooth and fills it with composite material.
I think it's affecting me now. I'm going to die. I was supposed to be inevitable. What is all this?
Now I have treated your cavity, I have filled your cavity. Now your pain will gradually reduce. Don't worry. Now you have to take care of your teeth and you have to brush daily. it, we conclude that brush your teeth daily with fluoride toothpaste.
Limit your snacking and tobacco. Make use of the dental floss to clean between your teeth. Visit your dentist regularly for professional cleaning and oral examination.
Thank you.
So we'll have prize distribution now. Before we have the prize distribution, we'll see all the memes, paintings which were submitted. So the first competition is painting. This is just the order, not the winners.
Namaste. Happy to announce the results for the painting competition. The third place goes to Sannidhi M. Second place to Ruben Wilson. And the first place goes to Anamika Haridas. Congratulations. Thank you for the opportunity.
Good afternoon. Here are the results for tooth animation. The second prize goes to Dental Tones, Fatima Teresa's team, and the first prize, that's tooth animation, goes to Meryl J. Matthews' team. Thank you.
So the first prize for the memes goes to Ravi Kumar, and the second prize goes to Kirti Maria Augustine. Congratulations to both of you for winning the prizes in this meme competition, which was done very wonderfully by both of you. Thank you.